Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelorette Nation News. We have a video on one of the contestants of Gen Trans season of The Bachelorette named Marcus. If you're not following the season, this probably doesn't mean anything to you, but if you are, he is one of the finalists, and an article has come out from one of his exes in lifeandstylemag.com. This article will involve spoilers, so if you don't want to know how Gen's season ends, you're going to want to tune away because Marcus is a finalist. So with that said, we're about to get into it. This article came out yesterday. Again, if you don't want the spoiler for what happens on Gen's season, you need to leave now. We'll have other content for you. The podcast does not have any spoilers, so you can go to the Rush Hour podcast with Dave Neal and check that out. If you're in the Patreon, because we have a Patreon community that's watching right now, just take the next 8 minutes off. Go take a break for the next 8 minutes and then come back and we'll be done here. All right, good? All's fair. Everyone's ready to go. Let's get into it. Marcus said he was not ready to get married before joining The Bachelorette. X says, ooh. Okay, so far, not a big deal. Now, there have been pretty wild allegations made about Marcus. As far as I know, those allegations have only been made on Reddit and have only been substantiated by Reddit moderators. This in no way is me criticizing the Reddit moderators, but I don't know who they are, and therefore I don't have them vetted as a reputable source to be doling out very damaging information. It could be true. But unless somebody wants to come forward, and I'm telling you, it's not a story that I'm sharing unless somebody comes forward and puts their name on it. It's almost like a stalemate that's happening right now. And this happens a lot because it's pretty heavy. And if you guys don't know, I've been sued for harassment in the last year. I've been threatened with a $140 million lawsuit. And by the way, that's with me doing all the right things. When it comes to the Clayton Echard story, I knew Clayton's story and I knew who the people were that were involved, so I could opine on it in a way that lent at least some credibility from at least what I could think of what was going down, right? This is blind. I'm flying blind. The people that have accused him, the exes that have accused him of other things, I don't know who they are. But now we have this. So if you're wondering, and people have asked me, Dave, why haven't you covered this? I've said, look, I'm not entitled to cover stories that I'm not mentally prepared to cover. I had a baby recently. Okay, I've had lawyers threatening to sue me and steal my home and make me homeless. There's just certain stories I'm going to go, you know what? I'm out on this one. Somebody else cover it. I don't have the bandwidth. And that might be a privilege that I have, but where's everybody else? As we've said in the past, when it comes to content that people want to get up in arms with, where's everyone else? So anyway, let's get into this story right now. But that's my very sensible take on why I haven't covered the other accusations. Now you might say, Dave, in the past you have covered stories where people had been accused of things and they were vetted through Reddit moderators. Now, my response to that is I may have been naive. I may have made mistakes to cover stories that have only been vetted through anonymous Reddit moderators. Chances are they're good people doing good work, but like that's just not how it works. And I've had to like sort of rethink my own policies as my platform has grown to say, look, I can't be doing that. It doesn't mean the stories aren't probably true. It doesn't mean any of that, but it means like if the show doesn't want to put the weight of their image behind some of these stories, why should I? But they're the ones that should be vetting it. Okay. Marcus has made it to Jen's top 3 on season 21 of The Bachelorette, but he was literally talking to multiple girls until the week before he left to film the show. By the way, the old Cassidy Tim Brooks rule, I don't care. I don't care if you were literally hooking up with your friend with benefit and they drove you to the airport. That doesn't matter to me in this modern day of dating. You don't need to be like, how many weeks have you been celibate before? I mean, where do you draw the line? You must not have been with someone in the last 6 months. Now, come on. The post below contains spoilers about the ending of the season of The Bachelorette. Before he left, he proclaimed, I don't date. I'm not the man I want to be. and said he is not ready for anything serious. He made excuses as to why, such as working on his career, saving money, and then he went right on the show. There's no way he is there to get married. If he wasn't ready a week before filming, what would make him ready now? My initial response, which I've said whenever we have exes kind of exposed contestants, is look, he wasn't ready to marry you. Okay? And look, honestly, is going on the show about getting married? Is Jen Tran ready for marriage? I mean, maybe Jen and Marcus are a perfect connection. She's in medical school or whatever the heck she's doing. Maybe they're both not ready. When I started dating my wife, I wasn't ready to get married, and we worked towards that. And that's one of the problems with the show. There are many, but one of the problems with the show is that they force this ridiculous deadline of engagement on you. We've interviewed people that cover the formerly Bachelor Australia show. I believe it has since been canceled. And on that show, they would laugh at you if you got engaged. And hey, maybe that's why that show got canceled. Maybe we want this sort of vacuous month-long slam crash course on dating that ends in an engagement. But even, when it does, like the odds of it working are so low that why could we even get mad if someone's there for the wrong reason? I bet you if 30 guys showed up all saying, I don't want to get married. I mean, literally, every guy, let me know in the comment section on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Hasn't everyone said that? I don't want to say anti-marriage, but judging by past relationships, like my parents and many other parents' relationships not working out, you go, I just don't think it's for me. The divorce rate's so high. And then you meet someone who changes your mind and you go, well, I was wrong. I'm smitten, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not surprised by that. Marcus admitted as much during his hometown date on the show's Monday, August 19th episode. After introducing Jen, 26, to his sister and several of his closest friends, the Army vet began expressing doubts about whether he was ready for a proposal at the end of the season. He then met up with the other remaining men, Devin, Jeremy, and Jonathan, and was left even more unsure after he heard how certain they were about a future with a Miami resident. And as we saw from the preview of next week's episode, she's gonna open up to him and he's going to say he's not ready and he's freaked out and all of that. It may be true. He could be an F-boy. Maybe there's a combination of both. Who really knows? I'm not here sticking up for him. I just think it's like, all right, so far she's described probably 80% of the guys who go on the show. Chris in the comment section said, I got bad vibes from Marcus the moment he described his time in the military as picking up bad guys from around the world. Sir, there is nothing cool about kidnapping people in the middle of the night. Yeah. I mean, look, the military will do a wonder on you. I mean, everyone who's in the military should go get therapy and talk about it. It's a tragic. I mean, not everyone who's in the military sees war, but I've talked about it ad nauseum. My father had PTSD, and he was never the man that he was when he went from when he returned. Excuse me. And maybe Marcus, I'm sure, he's a good example of someone who clearly can use a lot of therapy. And I don't say that as an insult. Therapy is a good thing. Everyone's feeling really confident about their hometowns. The guys seem like they, if given the opportunity, that they would get down on a knee and not have any reservations about that. As happy and as excited and as optimistic as I want to feel, like I just can't, I kind of feel like I'm being right behind right now. I'm trying my best to understand why. Honestly, it's like this feeling of shame of not being there yet. What are those guys doing that I'm incapable of right now? It does make me feel like there's something wrong with me. Going into this rose ceremony, there's no reason that I should be feeling the way that I'm feeling. All right, I haven't read this article, but so far it's reading very much like Gary Turner's ex, The Golden Bachelor. That article, that garbage article. I mean, how bad? That garbage article that was in the Hollywood Reporter. So let's continue. Marcus received a rose from Jen. If I went home tonight, it would hurt a lot because I don't want to sabotage something that could be really good for the both of us, he admitted before the rose ceremony. But I think she can kind of feel that I'm struggling to meet her where she's at. And I think that if I go home tonight, it's because she has run out of patience. I'm worried that something that makes me extremely happy could be taken away. In the upcoming episode, Marcus will have the chance to take things to the next level in his relationship with Jen during Fantasy Week. All right, so none of this shares anything else from the ex. Here's the spoiler. Reality Steve previously reported that Marcus makes it to Jen's top 2. However, the TV blogger said that Devin is the one who gets engaged to the physician assistant at the final rose ceremony. Devin's relationship with Jen has already progressed further than Marcus, and he told her he loved her after his hometown date, while Marcus only professed that he was falling for the Boston native. So that's the end of the article. I mean, it's a real... No offense to Alyssa Norwin here, who wrote the article, but it's really like who's the ex? I know they're not going to reveal the source, but anyhow, I mean, he could have been hooking up with somebody and says, I don't even know what I'm doing with you. I mean, that's the world we live in. When you break up with someone, you either tell them the truth, hey, I'm just not into you, I want to move on, or you say something like, yeah, I'm just not ready, it's not, whatever, and you make up an excuse. Either one works. It doesn't matter. It shows the person doesn't like you. They're just not that into you. Again, I want to reiterate one more time, in response to the allegations about Marcus, I've talked to plenty of different content creators that are on the fence about covering the story, not because it might not be true, but it's like, it's just like, I understand why people wouldn't want to go out and publicly discuss this. I have so much empathy and grace for them. But at the same time, other people don't understand the amount of energy it takes to cover it, and the amount of faith it takes to say, all right, I'm trusting that this person's story lines up with this other anonymous Reddit account's verification of it and whatnot. It just becomes like, that's not exactly the content I want to make, because it leaves a lot of speculation up in the air. And if Marcus is sort of guilty of some of the allegations that are out there, what can the show do to be better at not casting people? The problem is, when you cast these folks that have never been in a reality show before, it's hard to know their whole backstory, because most of the time, it's not like it's a criminal record that they have. Most of the time, it's like this information comes out afterwards. Anyhow, so if I sound redundant with regards to how to cover it, it's because it's complicated. Because I don't know what's 100% true, and there's a level of sort of weight that comes on you when you do share a story. I've made mistakes in the past. I've shared stories that never got the full vetting that they probably could have had, and you want to put pressure on people to not cover it. Put pressure on The Bachelor. Have that conversation. You know what I mean? Talk to him about it. The amount of independent journalists and independent content creators that get shit when the show itself, psychopathically doesn't cover it, because you don't even know who, like, what are you going to mad at? The creator, the casting director? Like, who can you even get mad at? So anyhow, that's my thoughts on that. I hope it makes sense. I've got the podcast coming this afternoon, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. We'll have all of your entertainment news. I'll be covering this story here. I got this story I did not cover yet on the YouTube, but I'll be covering it on the podcast. Bachelorette star Hannah Brown says she had $4,000 of purses stolen before Taylor Swift concert. Light a candle and pray for Hannah Brown. We'll have that story for you on the Afternoon Rush.